My perception is it's tremendously valuable for not only the work that we do, but also how we integrate it into our solutions. And we were early. Fortunately, Luke is our innovation officer, our innovation guy, and I lead the company. I think that's a good fit because he's got the creative, crazy idea side. And very early on, over a year ago, as soon as we published the book, he wanted to explore how to leverage OpenAI, ChatGPT in the book. So now we have our own AI assistant, which effectively has been trained on the content from a software profit stream so that if there's a question, you get the response that is based on the book, because there is a lot of confusion, particularly in the software pricing space.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Jason Tanner from Amplified Frameworks. And today we'll be diving a bit into his story, as well as what it is his company does, and then some engaging insights into the technology industry, as you guys know, as always. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Jason, welcome. Thanks for hopping on today.
And thanks for the invitation.
Jason, if we can kick things off, if you kindly can, just provide us with a bit around your background.
Sure. So I think I'm on my fourth career. I started professionally for about 9.5 years as a Marine Corps infantry officer. So I suffered through engineering education and then did nothing with it for almost a decade. And then I was in a position to stumble into IT. So I was a call center engineer, project engineer for a telecom company. But we had an early e-commerce network. So in 1999, 2000, it was a rudimentary EDI network. So electronic data exchange, learned all about that. So it was a very fast learning curve. A friend of mine hired me from school, another Marine, and I went to work for a software company. So really pivoted from hardcore IT into sales, marketing, and project management, and then product management. So my first exposure to product management was at I'd say a mid-sized startup, semi-mature, but really I think found what I really enjoyed doing as a product manager. And my developers led a revolution, and we adopted Scrum in 2004. So I began an agile journey as a product manager at that point. Soon after that, I went to another software company, NetQOS, which was eventually acquired by Computer Associates. But when I was there, I really saw a tremendous organization that was really well run, very well operated, and it was a great experience. And at that point, I met my current colleague and partner, Luke Homan, and he asked me if I thought about consulting. I'm like, well, I haven't thought about consulting since I did a couple of consulting interviews when I got my MBA in an executive program at Duke. And a few years later, I wound up in consulting. So that was 2008 when I started this journey, really as a hustler, I guess, scrambling to sell business, deliver, teach, do a lot of consulting work. And along the way now, we've built a lot of online education that is really our academy for product managers and advanced Scrum and Agile practitioners. That has really been a great experience. And I'm fortunate we set that up because it was really helpful during COVID to have that
Yeah.
platform available and know how to do things like a remote distributed global training. But more importantly, we also developed our latest book, Software Profit Streams, and built an entire structure and framework around the idea of software business models for profitability and sustainability. So the past year has been just a great journey of going really deep with several clients and helping them with their pivots in their business models and designing some pretty interesting pricing models. And that I think is where we see the future is a lot of work for companies that are in search of either improving or creating their business models for software-enabled solutions, and that runs the gamut from pure software companies
Yeah.
to companies that are new to software that are finding that they have really valuable solutions and they're getting into software for the first time. They know how to price a widget, but they don't really know how to think about pricing and licensing of the intellectual property of software. So
Good point.
we're a mighty but small team now. There's five of us, and but we do a lot. We get a lot done, and both in portfolio management and product management. So uh, in a nutshell, that's me. We've been distributed since we were set up. So I'm in North Carolina. Luke's in California. Laura, our salesperson's in Chicago, and then Kevin McCabe is our pricing strategist up in Massachusetts. And we have one more guy who's semi-retired in Madeira, Portugal. So he was in Texas and migrated east to enjoy the good life. So that's us.
That is a very colorful background, I must say. You've been, for lack of a better word, around the block, right? Very interesting. Tell me, Jason. Having said that, I mean, you've been doing this for quite some time. And what have you picked up in the market from a trend point of view? What ways are the winds blowing now, lately
For what?
for for the industry that you're in specifically? What market trends are you seeing these days?
I think it's, in one area, it's a harsh realization that the ways of working are being reevaluated, both in terms of how teams are constructed and set up to deliver value. I'm a little bit dealing with recency bias because I did 2 days of work on site with a local company here, a very big local company, and
Yeah,
I was struck by a couple things. One is this very big campus of office buildings, beautiful location, and probably only half occupied.
yeah,
And the flip side of that is going to lunch in the cafe and seeing really a lot of people back in person, which was great. I mean, that's a nice thing, was actually being able to have the time in person. So I think companies are figuring out the right balance of how to use their real estate because it's expensive. I mean, we've got these huge investment in this office space and conference rooms, this beautiful training center, and I think there were only two classrooms out of 15 in use. So on the one hand, you can understand the executive leadership desire to, optimize utilization of all those uh, real estate resources, and at the same time, what's most practical for teams. And I think that in December, when I was working with a company in York, England, they established a policy 2 days a week. They wanted people in the office, and they decided in that location everyone was going to be there on a Wednesday. So everyone, all hands were there Wednesdays, which was interesting. I mean, it was really good
yeah,
to see people coming together and collaborating. And then the teams were free to choose when else they would meet. So the first trend, I think, is, how do you make this new reality of finding the best talent, which could be anywhere, because we can be very inclusive of the staff that we find in remote locations, far from the home base, so to speak, of either the company or the business unit. But at the same time, we need to, consider how we're spending the rest of our budget on our other resources. So what way of working is best? And I think the teams actually figure out the best solutions. And from an agile point of view, we think about product development teams and product managers really coming together at planning, and then at the end of an iteration or at the end of a sprint to do a review and demonstrate value and get feedback on what they're doing so they can continue to evolve the product. So I think that's the first trend. The second trend, I think, is beginning to question how do we continue to grow the business? And that's what I think where we get involved in terms of rethinking pricing and packaging, which was really kind of the end of our book. Once we went through the whole structure and framework of building out the business model, understanding customer benefits, developing the solution to deliver the features for those benefits, and developing the pricing model and so on, we got into, okay, how do you apply this? How do you think about triggers? And the first trigger is time. So how frequently are companies revisiting their pricing and updating it? And it should be at least twice a year. for software solutions. And then there's internal triggers and external triggers. The internal trigger may be a desire to expand to a new market. External trigger of the big obvious one right now is AI. How does that affect us in our product development? Is there really something there for us to integrate AI to deliver more benefits to our customers or not? I think there's a bit of a race right now to figure that out really quickly. In some cases, like my client this week, they've been building AI models for 20 years. They won't by different names, but effectively they're already experts in the field.
I would think so. I mean, AI is the buzzword these days, right?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
I've got leaders, founders coming on the podcast, and Jason, there's like three sides that I pick up. Whereas there's a lot of people that is a bit afraid of what's coming with AI, and they feel the AI is taking things over. Whether there's another side that is very much optimistic about it, and then there's the risk adverse side, the one in between, where they say still checking things out and thus forth. What's your what's your take on AI, or your perception about it?
To then say, okay, based on the inputs we've got and some of the spreadsheets that we've built, build the model. So what would be the right packaging approaches or recommendations and why? And then the details of the price levels. And I don't want to be confuse anyone on the podcast. There's on the one hand, there's the well-known models we may know about. Like if we go to Slack.com and look at what the cost is for a small company to buy 10 user licenses, it's pretty clear. We were doing things like pricing biomedical data for thousands of patients that were de-identified so pharmacy companies could do research. Incredibly valuable data delivered through a software platform. It is a non-trivial exercise to figure out how to price that at volume. So that's the kind of challenge we're trying to solve. And I think AI can get there faster than us because that's kind of the key. The 40 or 50 hours of time it took us to really figure out all that modeling, if we can get the right structure and framework into an AI assistant, it could do the same thing in 40 minutes or less.
Or less. Yeah, that's a good take on it, and I must say I fully agree with you. The Jason, you've mentioned a couple of things already about your business, but I think if you don't mind, just to elaborate a bit more, what can the clients expect from you guys? What it is specifically what you guys do.
The core of what we do is help companies build out their business models for their software-enabled solutions so that they can be profitable and sustainable. So the key, I think, is to avoid some common pricing pitfalls
Yes.
in going to market for the first time with a new solution. Now, it could be a growing startup that may or may not be VC funded and really have the tools they need to work together as a small team through growth pricing. And we do that through a small workshop. Maybe a Fortune 1000 company, which is either looking to expand and build a new product, or is looking to update pricing, or is simply looking to educate new hires. Because we tend to find that in really big companies, there's
Yeah.
two or three, experts, and they're trying to level up 20 or 30 other product managers and help them become really good at pricing. So we have a profitable software academy for them, which is an online learning experience. I think the third market segment for us is venture capital firms and private equity firms. So they've got a portfolio of companies, and some are struggling, and they need our targeted assistance to help them reframe and repackage. And in fact, that's a few of the case studies on our website. Is just some subtle changes to pricing and packaging have a huge impact. So it's really a number one today, consulting services oriented for the pricing and packaging for software enabled solutions, which we call software business modeling. And the second part of our business is really around education. whether that's for product managers or teams that are looking to be more agile and iterative and incremental in how they deliver their solutions.
The solutions.
Yep.
That's quite profound. There's quite a couple of verticals I've identified here. But you guys are quite how can I say, like a portfolio of different verticals, right?
Yeah.
So I'm scared I'm going to forget to ask you at the end. Tell me just quickly that education platform, right? Where you guys that you mentioned earlier. Where can the listeners get more information about that?
So that is our online academy, and appliedframeworks.com is a place to start
Yes.
because that's the entry point to see all the different programs in the academy. We started it when we were looking at advanced Scrum education. So the ability for product owners and Scrum masters to continue their career journey led us down the path 7 years ago to build something for them. Because we found this gap in the market that there were some people that were nowhere near the in-person training. So pre-COVID, in order to get that advanced certification, you had to go to a training location, typically a hotel or some office, and sign up and attend. And we knew that there were people that couldn't be served by that in Singapore or India, even remote parts of the U.S.
Yeah.
And they didn't want the 2-day experience. So we built something that was very practical and application based. So they learned something and then they go apply it. How can I run a better product planning session? Well, here's a technique. Now go do it. People submit their assignment and they get feedback from one of the instructors like me. That evolved to the Profitable Software Academy. So now I've got a collection of people in cohorts, all from the same company. So we've got groups of 20 or 30 people each going through the same courses together, and it's really interesting. Even today, they were like, "Hey, let's connect and work on this assignment together," because we do want them to collaborate. Because part of it is like, how do we come together and collaborate? But it's the
That's
same
really valuable.
principle that fits. They do the work and then they apply it, and I give them feedback on what they've done. And we meet together and keep sharing ideas and grow together, which is really, I think, the benefit of the company. They're getting everyone up to the same level, aware of what really good looks like. When they know that they have gaps and they need help, they bring that up in this live session so that we can make the adjustments and improvements. So it's a long way of saying go to appliedframeworks.com and you'll see
No, but
the all the
now I
education,
understand it.
right?
No, no, I'm glad. I'm so glad you elaborated on that. Thank you. The I would like to get your take on, we've got Jason, we've got a lot of listeners that that might be stuck in a rut in their current position that they work, and they wanting to, to pivot, or it might be that they want to jump ship and go, start their own business for that matter, or even the younger folk that, wants to get into entrepreneurship and, and grow a business. In your opinion, what would you say does it take, and like mindset wise as well, to be a successful leader, uh a co-author, CEO, to be that person, that leader person? What would you say does that take to be someone like that?
The starting point is probably the leader as a very hard worker who's setting the example across all dimensions that they want to uh, see in the organization themselves. So the first thought that comes to mind beyond working hard is integrity, doing what you say you're going to do. Uh, the next I think is the passion and follow through, resiliency, a little bit of fearlessness to know that you're going to make mistakes. We're dealing with uncertainty. We've got to try a lot of things until we figure out what works without being wasteful. So I think there's calculated investments that may or may not work. And you learn as quickly as you can what's not working so you can reinvest in something that is working and keep reinforcing success. So if we're starting out as as we did, we spent a lot of time thinking about where was the opportunity, what problems were waiting to be solved, so we could get away from the crowd. At one point, we were in a very competitive space. There's probably 200 plus companies that could offer the same type of Scrum education and Agile education and safe education that we could.
Yeah.
That's why we went into this area of really thinking about software business modeling and pricing and licensing because there's a big gap in the market. And we knew that there were customers that had the problem because they were our customers, and that's what led us that way. So finding an opportunity, testing a lot of business ideas along the way, and evaluating hypotheses, testing them as quickly and cheaply as possible is the way to really, I think, ensure you've got the business going the right way. So I think as a leader, there's a bit of walking the walk and going beyond just talking about it. So there's initiative, actually being available and making decisions as quickly as possible, but not haphazardly. I think is really the key is that we're gonna deal with the uncertainty, and I think that's been built into me since I was in the Marine Corps. I mean, I came in the Marine Corps when maneuver warfare was the new wave of doctrine for us. So we were shifting from a lot of command and control to decentralization, which is great for me. I was the young lieutenant, so I was constantly being put in these positions. You've got to make a decision, react, adapt, and my goodness, it's a complete match to agility, right? And the idea of I'm going to do something, get feedback, and then adapt. I'm still going to plan. I still have the discipline to go through the steps to create the plan, but it's a short, quick plan, execute it, feedback, adapt. And I think that that's really a constant. It's been a constant for, I'd say, decades. I think that we see we talked about AI earlier. AI is just going to have the same impact uh, as other technology did, mobile first did 10 years ago. Okay, we've got
Right.
this new thing. How are we going to do it? What's the smallest experiment we can run to validate an idea we have and see what happens? And we're calculated about that and disciplined about gathering the data to make the next best decision.
Well, Jason, I can fully understand why you guys are so successful. Having listened to the values you brought out, you know, uh, from my perspective, I can clearly see that the team that you guys, that Luke and yourself, that you guys are leading as well. And then obviously always, that self-discipline of always evolving, always looking out what's new and out there, the different verticals that you guys have in your business as well. Like you mentioned from the educational part as well. I wish you guys all the best going forward. May you just grow from strength to strength. Thank you for willing to share your expertise and your knowledge, as well as giving some good insights into to the guys out there that's wanting to get into this market. So just lastly from my side, where can the listeners get hold of you guys? You mentioned that website earlier.
Yeah, appliedframeworks.com, APPLIED frameworks.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. You just look me up, Jason Tanner. I'm in North Carolina. Should be relatively easy to find.
Excellent. And then your the book that Luke and yourself, the book that you guys wrote, where can the listeners get hold of that book?
So it's called Software Profit Streams, and it's available on Amazon, but it's also available directly from profit-streams.com, profit-streams.com. You can order it directly and it'll be shipped directly from the publisher. So it's a little bit less expensive than the Amazon additional fee.
Excellent. Jason, thank you so much. This was fun.
Great. Thank you. Enjoyed it.